Hey everybody, and welcome back to some more Feed the Beast Unstable. Last episode, we were working on this tree farm over here with our two new RF Tools builders, and between episodes, I've made a couple of changes to try and make things just a little bit more efficient, try and make things look a little bit tidier, and just make everything run a little bit more smoothly. So the first change that I've made is I have reduced the planting area for the saplings. So now, instead of being planted all the way up to the edge of this fenced area, like they were at the end of the last episode, they're now planted in a much smaller area. It's 2 blocks in, and the reason for that is to try and stop any of the logs being outside of the reach of the quarry, so that we don't end up with those big bits of tree that are kind of just floating and never go anywhere. So moving that in, hopefully now almost all of the logs should be within the fenced area, which means when the builder gets activated, hopefully everything will be destroyed and there'll be no little bits of floating tree left just hanging about in the sky. That's the idea, at least. We'll see over time whether or not that actually works. And then I've also gone ahead and lowered the delay. Currently, it is set to 3 minutes, which means that the tree farm itself actually works every 6 minutes. Because of the way we've set this up, the actual timer is double whatever number you put into here. And so effectively, once every 6 minutes, all of the trees are chopped down, new saplings are planted, and the whole cycle will start anew. And I found 6 minutes to be about right. You can see here, we've got quite a few trees that are grown. The more that the trees grow, the less other trees grow, the harder it is for these saplings to actually grow into full trees. And so you do want to make sure that you're cutting these down quite regularly, but not too regularly that it wastes power. And so I feel like this is a good middle ground, about 6 minutes. But nevertheless, this is not what I want to work on in today's episode. Today, I want to use another builder, but for a more conventional purpose. I would like to set up our first quarry to do some automated mining and then automatically process all of the ores into ingots, process all of the gems and minerals into our storage drawers, and just hopefully get a lot more resources. Because right now, we've not done a ton of mining, and although we do have this new-ish supercharged Crimson Steel hammer, it still takes quite a bit of time to go down and manually mine. We can't hold all that much on us. It's going to be so much better if we can automate that mining, and to do that, we're going to do two things. One, we're going to make a new builder, which hopefully we should have everything it takes to make here. Between episodes, I have gone through to the nether to get quite a bit of nether quartz. The reason for that will hopefully become apparent later on in today's episode. And I've also just been to kill a few endermen as well, and we now have 9 more ender pearls ready to go. Again, the reason for those will become apparent later on today. So first things first, let's go ahead and craft up some blue dye, and then let's craft that blue dye into a machine frame, and finally, of course, craft that machine frame into yet another builder. I think we should have some bricks lying around. We do indeed. And speaking of bricks, we are going to need quite a bit of stone today. And so I do want to make sure that I keep topping up this gold furnace with stone just to make sure we've got enough for later crafts today. And so let's craft up a builder like so. And then instead of putting this in the overworld, we could just put the builder down outside and start mining areas nearby. But there is actually a mod in the pack called Yet Another Mining Dimension Attempt. It's called Yamda. I think we go to @Yamda. This one right here. It adds one item, the Mining Dim Portal, which pretty much does exactly what you would expect it to do. It is a portal to a mining dimension. And the interesting bit, and are we actually out of bricks? Oh, we're a little low on bricks, although I do think we have clay. We do. Good stuff. Let's smelt this up real quick, and let's also sleep, because it is getting a little bit dark outside. But the benefit to the mining dimension over the overworld is that the mining dimension does not have any caves in it, so there's no empty space underground, which means more space for more ores. There's no lava, there's no water, there are no liquids of any kind under there, and so it is packed as fully as it can be with ores. We're going to get the most ores that we possibly can, and on top of that, we don't have to worry about putting it down in a space that we've already mined out. We don't have to worry about anything like that. We can just go to the mining dimension, put down a really big quarry, and just let it work its magic and provide us with a bunch of materials. And so for that, we need a pickaxe. We also need, of course, one more brick, like so, and kapow, mining dimension portal. Nice. So let's go ahead and for now, I guess, get rid of this guy, and we'll put it, I think, right about there. And so all you have to do for this is simply right click, and that will take you through to the mining dimension, which has a few more interesting traits to it. One, it is completely flat. You'll see we're at Y level 70, but everything is completely flat from here on out. It's actually a really good dimension for finding animals. So you can see here right away chickens, and we'll probably see some, cows, pigs, horses, sheep, etc. There's quite a few animals around here, and this makes it really easy to find them because there's not that many trees in the way, and it's just a lot easier to kind of just find whatever it is you're looking for. That's definitely not a horse. That's like an enderman with a hunchback? What in the world is this? Is this a Farlander? Hold on. I need to know what this guy... Hopefully he's not hostile. Hello, my friend? A mystic ender minion. Do you trade? No, you don't trade. He's got like a... I thought he had a backpack on. He doesn't. He's got like a cape on with a staff. Oh my goodness. I'm going to leave that guy for now. I don't really feel too confident about fighting him, but nevertheless, it is completely flat, and on top of that, it's also eternally daytime. The sun is always up at the peak noon brightness, and so you'll never have to worry about night falling, and so it's actually not a terrible dimension to live in, just because you don't have to worry about sleeping all the time. I don't know how that works with the phantoms in 1.14. I assume the phantoms will still come if you don't sleep, so maybe it's not the best dimension to live in, but nevertheless, it does make it the perfect location for solar panels. And originally, my plan for today's episode was going to be to put down the builder and then make a bunch of these small solar panels from Engineer's Decor to power it. Now, originally, I didn't think that these actually produced power. Because they're from a mod called Engineer's Decor, I just assumed that they were decorational. It turns out that is not the case. They do produce a small amount of redstone flux, up to, I believe, 45 RF per tick is like their maximum in this mod pack. And so that was my original plan, but it turns out there's a better way for us to get power to the builder. This requires a lot of nether quartz, which we do have now because I've been and got it, but we need that for something else. So I'm not going to do this, but you could if you wanted to. And we might make some of these in the future to kind of augment our power setup if we want to make our builder even faster. But for now, I'm going to head back and we're going to make ourselves a quarry card, because the quarry card, of course, is what is going to allow us to actually mine the resources out of the ground. And unlike in the last episode, this time around, we don't have to worry about getting the clearing quarry card, because this time we're more than happy for all of the rocks and all of the ores and all the other stuff that we're going to mine out to be replaced with dirt. We don't want to have a massive, 128 by 128 hole in the ground. That would look horrendous. We do need a little bit more clay here. And so once again, let me smelt up just a little bit more. Boom. And boom. Nice. So let's head back over once again and let's find out where we're going to put this thing down. So I think we're going to go pretty big. We'll start out with 128 by 128 by 70 because we're 70 blocks up. We do, of course, want this to be negative 35, I believe, so that it covers all of the area beneath us and not, 35 up. And then let me figure out where we're going to put the builder. So I do want to stay somewhat close to the mining dimension portal. If you don't and you lose this, it becomes kind of hard to get back without dying. So just a warning there. So let's throw down our builder like so. And then we are moving in the positive Z direction here. So we also want to go 64 blocks in this direction. So now if we put this in and we click the view button, we shouldn't see anything because everything should be underground. If we undo that and we break a block and we look again, boom. So now it is covering the entire area. From here, it's going to go 64 that way, 64 that way, 128 that way, and all the way down to bedrock. So a huge 128 by 128 area that goes all the way down to bedrock is ready to be mined. All we have to do is put a chest on top, give it some power, and hit the lever. This is where we run into a few problems. Problem one is getting power to this thing. As I mentioned before, we could use solar panels, but they don't produce a lot of power, and this thing needs, I believe, about 300 redstone flux per tick per block is the base cost if you want it to run at least fairly fast. You don't have to pump that much in, but it will be slower if you don't. And then on top of that, we have to figure out how we're going to get the items from the chest back through to the overworld, because of course we want all of our ores and all of our gems to come back through and be available in our simple storage network. We don't want them all sitting in a chest on top of this builder. Now, originally, my plan here was to use an ender chest. I figured, just stick an ender chest on top of there, put an ender chest in the overworld, and then have the items move through it. However, being the vanilla noob that I am, I didn't realize that you couldn't use hoppers with ender chests. And the same is true for the builder. The builder cannot put items into an ender chest, and so ender chests do not work, but never fear, there is a solution, and that solution comes in the form of the portality mod. A pretty small mod in terms of number of blocks, but a really cool mod for what we're going to work on in today's episode. So if we head on back through to the overworld real quick, we need to make two portals, one here in the overworld and one in the mining dimension. And the way that this works is we have to have one portal controller and then quite a lot of portal frame. So the portal frame requires stone and nether quartz, which is why we have so much nether quartz and why we're going to need so much stone. I don't think that we have enough stone. If we sort by amount, we have got 150 stone, which I don't think is going to be enough. I think we need quite possibly about 400 stone, which I believe is about the amount of nether quartz that we've got. Yeah, we've got 450. We might end up using all of that. This is quite an expensive endeavor, especially when it comes to nether quartz. But real quick, let's go ahead and craft up at least 4 frame. so we can make ourselves one of these portal controllers. That does require at least 1 block of nether quartz, which is fine. We are going to need another one of those in a second, but for now, let's see just how much portal frame we can make. 49 should be fine. That should be enough to set up our first portal here in the overworld. Now, to get this going, you need quite a bit of space. Specifically, you need a 5 by 5 by 5 worth of space. Now, I do need to be careful here, because beneath my base is quite a large, ravine. So if we're not careful, we will just fall down into that ravine. And so I think I am going to have our overworld portal right about here, just because I think it fits quite nicely. We do have to dig into the wall here. I don't know how that's going to look. I might end up changing this in the future. But for now, we're going to have our portal controller right here. And then 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's 5. And then we're going to go 3 deep. So 2 and 3 like this. And then you're going to fill this in pretty much as like a ring shape. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fill that in. And then like this. So you don't have to fill the middle in. And we do want to make sure that is not there. But you do have to fill in kind of the outer ring and essentially make a 3 deep ring of this portal frame. And you'll know you've done it right, of course, when you get this animated portal texture here. And so this is what our portal looks like. Now, the default way that you can use these is you can build one, for example, here, and then we could build one somewhere else in the world. And what we can do then is we can call the other portal, and it essentially works just like a teleporter. You can walk through this, and if you build another portal somewhere else, you can walk through that one. So long as they both have power, you can use them as a way to teleport from place to place. And by default, this can go up to 600 blocks. You can go further than that, but you have to add more depth. So if you make the portal deeper, for example, if we added another ring to this, I believe that then goes up to 800, and then it might be 200 every time you add another ring, or it might get more like exponentially, I'm not quite sure. But the more rings that you add going back, the further this can go distance-wise. But if you want to go across dimensions, which is what we want to do, that is where this guy comes in, the Interdimensional module. So we're going to need 2 of these, because we have to replicate this portal over in the mining dimension. For now, we'll go ahead and just make the 1. It does require 4 Eyes of Ender. I'm going to go ahead and make 8, because I know we're going to need 8. And by 8, I mean 7, because we're 1 Ender Pearl shy. That's fine. We can go and grab 1 in just a second here. Let's also quickly see if we have a little bit more stone available. We do indeed. Good stuff. So, boom. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's craft up this guy. And then essentially this can go anywhere in the portal. So long as this is part of the portal multi-block, it should work just fine. So for now, we're just going to put this right about there. It's going to reform into a portal. But now this can move across dimensions. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go away. I'm going to smelt up a bunch of stone. I'm going to get at least 1 more Ender Pearl so we can make that last Eye of Ender. And then I'm going to go through to the mining dimension and replicate that portal setup that we've just built downstairs. And I'll be back in a second. Okay, so quite a bit of stone smelting later, and we're back in the mining dimension with the same 5 by 5 by 3 portal setup. Let's get rid of one of these and replace that with a interdimensional module. And so now, what we're going to do is we're going to change this portal's name to something a little bit more easy to remember than dim::yamda_dim. Let's call this mining. Confirm. Let's also go ahead and provide this guy with a little bit of power. I brought 2 coal generators. We're going to put 1 right there with some of our tree farm charcoal. That's going to start to fill this up with redstone flux. And then back over in the overworld, we're going to head down to our other portal right here. And we're going to do the exact same thing. So we're going to go and not fall down into the void. Instead, we're going to put a coal generator here, give it a bit of power. And now what we should be able to do is in here, we can rename this to home, and we can call the mining dimension portal dial. So now, if we walk through this, you can see it says mining. It takes us right through to the mining dimension. Nice. So we have built a nice big glorified version of this portal here. You might be thinking, Isaac, what's the point? Why have we done this? Well, I've also built this right next to our builder, and the reason for that is that there are a few more modules in the Portality mod. Specifically, we have the item module, and the item module allows us to transfer items through the portals. So if we go back and we craft up 2 of these item modules, which do require yet more quartz and yet more stone. Hopefully, we have enough. We should have, again, yet more stone over in here. And I did go do more cobblestone mining whilst I was away just a minute ago. But if we get 1 more chest, which, of course, the system doesn't like to do for whatever reason, but if we do it for it, and then we do this, there we go. So now if we put 1 of these in here, which for now I'm going to put, I think, like right here. And now ooh, that almost went straight through. I didn't know that that worked. Hold on. If I dial the mining dimension portal again, Can I just throw items in here? Oh, you totally can. That's really cool. I had no idea that's how that worked. I guess there could be a more interesting way of doing this, where you get like some kind of dropper or something that like shoots the items into the portal. It would be very laggy, but I think it could be interesting to put like a chest on top of this, and then instead of doing what we're going to do now, which is going to be more boring but more efficient, you could have some kind of item shooter that shoots items through the portal, and then like a hopper or something, or an item collector that collects them on the other end. That would be a little bizarre, but would probably work. Nevertheless, what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this portal frame here, and we're going to replace it with the item module. So this one is going to be input, and the one on the other side, if we go through again, call home, dial, there we go. And the other one is going to be output. So over here, we're going to have output. And what we'll do is we'll grab 2 chests just to kind of show how this is going to work. Once again, that doesn't work. We have to do it manually. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what we're going to do with these, if we head on back through to the mining dimension, we're going to have 1 chest on top of our builder, like so. And then inside of the item module, if we go to this tab here, it has a bunch of inputs. Now, right now, these are all set to input. What we're going to do is we're going to change these from input to pull. And what that should do, I set that to the left side, which I think is right. If this is the front, then this would be the left side. So if I put an item in here, it pulls it because this is set to pull right here. So it's going to pull anything from this chest into the item module. And then because the portal is actually set up and connected, what should happen is that item should be teleported right through into here. So we just teleported that candle from the mining dimension through to the overworld through our portality portal. Pretty cool, right? So that's essentially the plan. Now, the other thing that we should probably think about is power. And once again, there is a module. If you go back to @portality, there is a energy module. This one right here does require 8 more. Oh, we're out of nether quartz? Oh, that is a pain as well, because we've got 7 portal frame. We actually only need 1 more portal. Actually, now that I think about it, we can just get rid of 1, because all we're going to do here is preferably not go through it. What we're going to do is we're going to put an energy module right here. I'm going to have to go back through the old-fashioned way. But if we come back over, we should now be able to make 2 energy modules, so long as we get 2 blocks of redstone beforehand, like so. And then now what we can do is we can put one of these in here. I do want to get rid of this, but preferably not lose it to the void. It's fine. We'll leave that one for now. So if we do that, that one can send redstone flux. And then now if we go through to the mining dimension again, we can put down another energy module, and this one can receive redstone flux. Nice. So all we have to do now, the reason we're doing this, by the way, is the twofold, I guess. One, we need to get power to the builder, and it's going to be easier if we can put coal generators in the overworld and feed those coal generators with the free charcoal that we're getting from the tree farm. And also, although there is one here, it would be preferable if we didn't have to keep putting coal into this coal generator, right? It would make more sense to do it in the overworld and then just send the power over. Now, the good news is that the portal actually doesn't require any power to send items or energy. It only uses power when you go through it physically, like when a player goes through it. You'll see right now we got 100,000 redstone flux in the portal. If I were to put a few items into here, those items would be slowly but surely pulled into the portal and sent through to the overworld, but it's still at 100,000 redstone flux. It only uses, I think, 500 redstone flux when you actually go through it. Right now it's not dialed. Let me call the home portal, dial. And then I'm just going to go back real quick because we should see this now on 99.5. So only use that 500 redstone flux to actually send me. All the items are gone. They should be over in here. They are indeed. And that didn't require any redstone flux at all. So once you have this set up, so long as we don't use that portal, if we just stick to using this portal over here for the mining dimension, we shouldn't have to power the actual portal itself. We only have to power the builder to do its quarrying. So essentially, all we're going to do here is we're going to expand out our simple storage network. If we get some more network cable, which you guessed it, is yet more stone. Essentially, all I'm thinking here is if we put down the 2 coal generators under here and we set up export buses to pipe charcoal into these coal generators, we can then run power from these coal generators straight through the energy module over to the builder and essentially have our power situation sorted out without having to get or set up any kind of power infrastructure over in the nether. That's the idea, at least. So let me throw down I'm going to put the other one, I think, here. The export buses can get a little janky if you try and put like an export cable right next to an export cable. Do we have any export cable? We do. We got 3. Because we got 3, I'm also going to go ahead and make one more coal generator, which I think we should have almost everything it takes to make, like so. But if you try and put down 2 items right next to each other, like if I do this, usually this doesn't work. You'll see that this one's not connected for whatever reason, although this one is. So I'm not quite sure what's up with that. And so just to kind of offset that, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to have one here, and we'll just do, even this I think might not work. Yeah, see, that also doesn't want to connect. I don't know what the deal is with that. Like, these first 2 connected, but the last one didn't. What if I don't fall and do this? Okay, so that works. It looks really janky, but I think that will work as intended. Temporarily as well, I'm going to dig a hole so we can get out this way. We can always put this back in a second here. But essentially, all we're going to do is we're going to set these to charcoal. If we grab some charcoal real quick, we've got, over 2,000 of it in the system. So whitelist, charcoal, and then we'll do the same here. We will, if we can get into it, whitelist, charcoal. Is this one connected to both? It is. We might not actually need the third one, because this one's connected to both here, but just to be safe, I'll also do whitelist and charcoal. And then from there, all we're going to do is we're going to run this up through the wall and connect it up to our pre-existing simple storage network. And there we go. That should now be hooked up. And so if we head on down, we should see, hopefully, each and every one of these coal generators filled up with coal. Again, we are going to have that issue where it puts coal, or charcoal even, into the wrong slot. I think that's fine. I think that's just something we're going to have to live with. The final question here is, do we have... Actually, I might move this. If we don't need this one, I might reconfigure this a little bit, because I'm thinking about where we're going to put the wiring. So if we grab some wire real quick, we do, of course, have to run power from here, here, and here, and then connect that up to the energy module. Now, I think by default, these are set up incorrectly. I'm not quite sure why. We do have the wrench on us here, but I'm not quite sure why these set to orange by default. Orange is input, so these want to be output, like this. Change that one as well if I can. There we go. And this one wants to be input. So that is full of energy. It's a 10,000 redstone flux. If we then reconnect this up real quick, I'm going to go under like that and then reconnect that back up like so. We are, of course, 1 cable shy. Of course we are. It would have been too easy if we had all of the cable that we needed right out of the gate here. So let's just craft up a few more of those. That should, again, allow all the coal to go back to where it's supposed to go. There we go. And then now if we head on back through on the other side, I think that should be pretty much good to go. So hopefully, on this side, we set this to output. There we go. The power's coming through, and the power is being transferred directly into the builder. Nice. And so now, I think if I just set this to ignore redstone signal, that does not work. Okay, we might actually need to make a lever of some description. Normally, you can just turn that off, but the mod is still being developed, it's still being worked on, and so not everything is working just yet. A couple of people did ask in the comment section about certain things, like if we go to @RFTools builder, this is all that's in. People were asking a lot about filters, like for the tree farm. There's no item filter yet. If I type in filter here, you'll see that there are, no filters. There's no whitelist or blacklisting of any of the items for the builder yet. Like, even though there is a filter slot here, the actual filter is not in the mod yet because it's still being worked on. So that stuff is coming, I assume, in the future. But for now, we'll do this. We'll do that. Actually, I'm going to turn that off real quick, because you'll notice right away we got a bunch of nonsense that we don't want. So there is, at the bottom here, a void option. So I'm going to void stone, cobblestone, dirt, gravel, sand, netherrack, and endstone. I don't think we're going to find any netherrack or endstone, but essentially, if we tick those boxes, we shouldn't get any of those things in here. We're still going to get other things we don't want, like slate, cobblestone, but we can delete those later on. It's going to make our lives just a little bit easier, and there we go. We're not producing enough power to keep up with it, so although it went quite fast at the beginning there, you'll see now it's slowed down quite a bit, but we're on chunk 1 of 82, Y level 52, so it's going to take a while. It's going to clear out that whole entire area, giving us all of the resources from that area to process as we like. Right now, those are, of course, being sent back through to the overworld via our portal. They're all in here, and so next episode, we're going to come back, we're going to import all of those. We're going to pull those into our system. We're going to put, certain things into the storage drawer if that's where they need to go. So most items are going here. If they're ores, we'll send them over to our crusher to get processed and doubled, and then put through and doubled again in our furnace, and then back to the storage drawer. So we'll work next time on automating all of that and setting up everything to go to the right location. But for now, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's episode of Feed the Beast Unstable there. As always, guys, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to go ahead and hit that like button. It really does help out a lot. Leave a comment down below, subscribe if you're new here to get notified as soon as new videos come out. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.